Imagine this. The lights go dark, the tension in the studio crackles in the air, and then out walks Charlie Peters. He strides in with purpose, microphone in hand, eyes locked on the narrative. He's just handed seasoned former BBC journalist Jennifer Nadell a front row seat to a story that others wouldn't dare touch. We move into the heated clash. Nadell unleashes fiery criticism of status quo media bias. Armstrong fires back with relentless defense of the People's Channel. Then comes the bombshell. Peters reveals that a London-licensed TV channel is actively echoing the regime in Tehran. Now it's time. Subscribe, hit the bell, drop your thoughts in the comments, because this is one ride you don't want to miss.
GB News wears its heart on its sleeve. I think when people tune into GB News, they know what to expect. When you tune into the BBC, you are almost forced to pay a licence fee, a tax for the BBC to exist. We are at the will of the viewers. If the people switch off and don't watch GB News anymore, we won't exist. The BBC will exist if no one watches it. And that is the problem. It is not a free market institution. It doesn't have the strings and the levers. So if I wanted to boycott the BBC...
Hang on a sec.
I'd love for you to respond, but my point is that the BBC has no levers of the free market to change if people don't want it to. When I look at the roster of presenters that have now gone on to form their own podcast and previously and all these other things, they're very left-leaning. They're very, very left-leaning.
Well, I think that's very rich coming from a station which has a roster
we're not paid by the taxpayer.
No, but what you have to do is you have to make your money by driving clicks. And the way you drive clicks is by propagating hate. It's by having sensationalist attitudes that drive
Jennifer?
The BBC
Give me an example
is
of
not
propagating
in the
hate
business.
at GB News.
Well, the first item you both spoke about was about one migrant who wants to go home, as if that shows the whole immigration system.
No, but I think it shows the ridiculousness of it, doesn't it?
What it does is it amplifies hate, it drives hate, it creates an element of fear, and that's why we have headlines that are dominated by immigration. The real issue in this country is the cost of living crisis. So let's talk about the real issues.
Well, actually, the number one issue on most polls now for people is immigration. I think mass immigration over the last 2 years has been...
So
it's not to do with the fact that 1.5 million people have come over in the past few years. That's got nothing to do with the fact that immigration is now a primary concern for most people.
I think that obviously is an issue of concern, but what has happened is that newspapers and organisations like yours have created an environment where they're seen as a threat, where racism becomes legitimised, and 50% of the stories about Muslims that are covered in the whole of the UK press are covered by you. You have an anti-Islam bias.
Thank goodness that somebody's speaking about these things.
But Jennifer, can I just say, no, we don't. It's an absolute nonsense. Can I just say, had the BBC done its job, Jennifer, if you don't, had the BBC done its job and reported the stories that it should be reporting up and down this country, GB News wouldn't exist. It's the fact that the BBC has willingly brushed away the Pakistani rape gangs. It has brushed away one of the biggest issues in facing our country, thanks to Charlie Peters here, who's exposed this massive thing that's been hiding under the rug. BBC didn't want to touch it with a barge pole, and that's the reason why we exist. We exist here because we are filling a vacuum of information the BBC has deliberately hidden.
For noxious, very right-wing views and anti-immigration stances.
But
that is
BBC,
what you're funded by a private hedge funder. We don't even know who really owns you. Exactly. All of us own the BBC, and when there's a problem, it comes out in the open. The complaint is made. Sometimes it is handled badly, and then heads
6 months later, thanks to the Telegraph doing some journalism that BBC Verify, which we pay for, could have done itself.
I think it's a really good illustration of how it's impossible to be impartial if we can't even agree on the facts. And if we can't agree what the facts are on immigration, if we can't even agree that there is a fact that males and females are different.
You're conflating opinion with fact.
Can we agree on it? If we can't agree on any facts, then there is no impartiality, is there? It's not possible.
But we are agreeing on facts. We're agreeing that broadcast went out, that the splicing shouldn't have happened, that was misleading, that an apology was made late.
Let's end on those facts, point of agreement.
But we're not agreeing on the opinion that propagates and amplifies hate and fear.
It's an opinion. Okay. We air all views on GB News, the home of...
We certainly do. OK, thank you very much, Jeff. I really appreciate you coming on, having a hearty debate with us. Thank you. BBC spokesman says Chairman Samir Shah sent a personal letter to the White House to apologise for editing of the speech in the Panorama programme, but added this.
While the BBC sincerely regrets the manner in which the video clip was edited, we strongly disagree there is a basis for defamation claim. Trump had said that the corporation defrauded the public.
Okie dokie. Well, in the last year, more than 20 potentially lethal Iran-backed plots have been tracked in Britain. That's according to MI5, which condemned Iran's efforts to kill, kidnap and harass in Europe and beyond.
But GB News can reveal that Britain is still hosting a London-based TV channel which supports the Iranian regime.
Joining us now in the studio is GB News national reporter Charlie Peters. Charlie, tell us more about this story.
Well, I'm so glad Jennifer is here. She gets a front row seat to see some of the latest reporting from GB News, which is more than just platform views. It reveals many of the stories that other broadcasters and outlets are too shy to touch. Jennifer, this is one of them, because what we can reveal today is that a London-based TV channel that backs the Iranian regime has got an Ofcom licence, but also had a Tier 2 skilled worker visa scheme for at least 3 years, and was able to sponsor visas from countries that the Home Office refused to tell us more about, despite its owner promoting the terror organisation Hezbollah and also the Ayatollah Khomeini, who launched the Islamic Revolution in Iran, which has sparked a wave of terror across the country. We've also revealed today that Luar Luar TV, this station based in West London in Park Royal, has hosted on its website regime propaganda, straight reports from the Iranian state, including statements in support of Hassan Nasrallah, who of course was killed by the Israelis in a strike in Beirut last year. Now, when we went to Park Royal, in this ramshackle trading estate just off the A40 down the road from us now, we encountered a few burnt out cars in the street, a couple of auto traders, some markets, and then this rather curious building with about a dozen satellite dishes on the side. Some local traders there told us that the building is in regular use. The landlord did speak to us to say that staff do come and work out of that studio. Luar Luar's headquarters and its parent company, Shells for Media Productions, did not respond to a request for comment, and nobody was there at the time to speak to us. The building was shuttered, doors were locked, nobody answered. But we do know what the station has said previously, what its owner has said previously. Al-Akraf, Hussein Al-Akraf, who is the owner of the channel, has previously said that Hezbollah is God's true promise. Now, this all comes as Jonathan Hall KC, who is the government's independent counter-terror advisor, said that this country faces an extraordinary threat from Iran. Those 20 potentially lethal threats that you described over the last year, that's information coming to us from MI5. But what we're revealing today at GB News is that we still have the state in some way either giving support or in some sort of tacit approval by licensing and regulating an organisation whose owner, and indeed whose website, promotes and holds a torch for the Iranian regime. Now, I do have a statement from Ofcom, who couldn't tell us, said they couldn't now do anything about Luar Luar's output because it's now broadcasting only online, and a spokesman said that its content is not subject to Ofcom's broadcasting code or related regulations, but some organisations may hold a licence without actively using it.
Charlie, thank you very much for that exclusive report. Well, lots more to